Welcome to the MBD Podcast, the show where we dig into what's actually working or not with the people who've been there when it comes to scaling businesses. And today's guest has definitely been there. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everyone where you've been, what you're up to, and where you're going.
Cool. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate the time. Yeah, I'm Teddy Thoren. I've been working as an AI efficiency consultant for the past year and a half. I started in media, had a detour into the wine industry for about 15 years. And in the middle of 2014, I learned about Bitcoin and spent a little bit of time researching and finding out that it was most likely the technology of the future economic system, and got full orange pilled. Um, Went down the rabbit hole for a little while. Started going to wine conferences and seeing that consumer trends were not exactly in our industry's favor. So I decided to go full throttle on crypto and fintech, and transitioned in about 2019. Worked in uh, blockchain and NFTs for the first couple of years. I had a media background, so that made a lot of sense. And around 2022, started getting into AI, and have transitioned since. Have worked with about 20 startups, and have become pretty much a full decentralization maxi. Um, Usually, I can't really have those conversations with clients until we're well into our relationship. So I usually start as a normal consultant, and over time, try to feed small seeds of decentralization fundamentals into our conversations. But yeah, these days I'm working with startups, just riding the waves of constant change in the AI realm, and yeah, really enjoying the level of change that we're running into right now.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story when I worked at MySpace, like in 2010, I think it was. My manager had the physical Bitcoin. They were going for such a small amount at the time. And he's like, maybe you guys want one. I was thinking about giving it to you. And it's kind of like, whatever, you know? And then I don't know what happened because the company was sold, and I didn't get a Bitcoin, and now I'm looking like, man, I had no idea that thing was going to take off.
Yeah, it's a common story. I think most people who have been in crypto and into Bitcoin, the most success stories come around. Oh, I bought a little bit of it a long time ago, forgot about it, and just checked
Yeah.
recently, and I'm doing okay.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, around 2014, when I got into it, the blockchain was still about 20 gigs, and I was living up on a hill in Napa, and we had a very bad internet connection. And I tried to start to download the a Bitcoin node at the time, and my landlord started running into the room, going like, "Why is the internet always down?" And
You're
I
like,
was
I don't
like,
know.
"I'm trying to mine Bitcoin," and he's like, "That's not
What?
gonna work for me."
Oh, man. Oh,
So
man.
yeah.
Well, awesome. So when you start working with a company, what are areas of opportunity that you look into to find for scaling and help them overcome failure?
Yeah, most of my clients are below 20 employees. And these days, the first thing that we jump into is a quick assessment of what kind of AI they're currently using, what are their current bottlenecks, and uh, where they want to be over the next 90 days, 6 months, and 3 years. And so once we've kind of put all those assessments into their initial context, we start to break down more complex ideas around prompt engineering. Usually, prompt engineering is a little bit out of date these days. If you provide the right context to most models, they can provide better answers. Understanding what kind of context for your business is needed to get good direction, and then also understanding where in your business you're running into human issues versus issues with the AI, and onboarding into all the different tools that are available. But most of the time, most breakdowns come around dealing with people and people problems.
And so do you have an example company that you've worked with where you come in and are able to identify and provide some solutions to help them?
Yeah. So one of my favorite clients that I'm working with right now is wonder.media. They're an animation studio that provides tools to help children avoid trauma. And when I initially started working with them, a lot of their animators were highly resistant to adopting AI tools. They had the general preconceived notion that, the models that aren't trained on, ethically uh, established data. And so there was a lot of demystification of what we were using and how we were going to use it. I think in any organization right now, you're going to see the most friction in people who have a mode of operations that they've been using for, you know, their entire career, and to change it is first really uncomfortable and then takes quite a bit of time to understand. But usually, with younger employees, you find a lack of resistance to a lot of these tools. And once we had the younger animators start to jump in and work with the tools, and you could see the efficiency start to increase in the whole workflow, other people started to jump in as well and follow suit. Um, there are, when we first started working in animation with a lot of these tools, there was a wide range of things available for voiceover, for audio generation, for animation itself, and now I mean it's all being condensed into single platforms like Sora, and for creating images like Nano Banana, and so it's a lot easier to point people to one tool that kind of breaks their mold of understanding, uh, and doesn't have to, doesn't require that the user to learn 16 different platforms to understand how their one Adobe workflow goes into a new pipeline.
And do you find, because I feel that the AI industry is really fractured, and we're starting to see conglomerates kind of start scooping up companies who provide solutions and bringing it more under, so you don't have the 16 different places to go. But I'm still seeing, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on some of these subscription model fees seem a little high for, you got a small business, you want to get some video out there, and you're like, oh, Sora 2's like, I forget how much it is per month, 256 or
Expensive.
250 or
Yeah.
500 a month. And you only get so many credits or tokens that
Pulse.
you can run. Yeah. So do you have tools or ways that you can work through that?
Yeah, there are a handful of open source tools that don't have the same quality of outputs, and it's quite a bit of a larger lift to uh, pr produce a proprietary system that utilizes those open source tools. So right now we're kind of in an in-between time where the big players, Gemini, Anthropic, OpenAI, Grok, Perplexity is kind of catching up. A lot of these major players are able to capture a majority of the market share, and then a lot of smaller players are kind of utilizing open source tools with new skins or new updates and trying to catch up, but it's just difficult to get users. Um, so yeah, as far as, creating a free system, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of engineering to create a proprietary system. There are more and more small teams popping up that will do that for you. Um, and most of them are utilizing uh, their own updated models of Llama, of the Kimi K2, uh, the Chinese open source models. But it takes quite a bit of time to produce those models. So you might as well be utilizing subscription service to get used to understanding how you prompt a system, and then, in the background, understand whether or not like a 3 to 6 month build out is first worth the money through an agency, um, or just subscribing as we were talking about.
Yeah,
is better through the major models.
I find tools that leverage the bigger models. Like for Sora 2, I found like there's was it Flex AI, where you can go in and for a much lower subscription or even a subscription, you're just paying for the use of it, and it's probably a little bit more than the actual amount that you would spend if you had the subscription, because I'm sure there's an offset. But that another one where you ad cap, I think is called, where we can go in and create advertising, and it's like it's kind of pre-structured for that specific solution, but the fee's not like it is, 500 a month on Sora 2 or something. So, what other areas, outside of video, are you seeing, say, for processes for customer service, where you're leveraging tools and getting people on board and increasing those efficiencies to help
Yeah.
businesses work through the human
Yeah.
element of things?
About about a year ago, sorry, you're dropping out.
You're there.
So can you repeat the question one more time?
So, how are you essentially handling human elements, such as through voice agents, automating workflows that standard things that people have to deal with, or anything else along that line for businesses?
Yeah, the agential systems that are currently available usually take a little bit of working with for even a moderately technical person. There are more agential tools being implemented into all of the main platforms right now through Gemini. It probably has one of the best workflows for, you know, prompting Gemini to produce a report and then transferring any numbers from that report directly into your sheets. So that's the lowest lift for any organization. Most organizations are already subscribed to Google Workforce, and so they have a Gemini Pro for most of their client or most of their coworkers already built in. And so that's the easiest thing to point to. About a year ago, almost to the day, we were going through a major hype phase for open source agents in the form of the ELIZA models that were reduced by kind of a renegade hacker programmer who kind of disrupted a lot of the major players' plans by releasing this framework that you could very easily create an agent with character, with small amount of memory, and it could cross platforms and have a pretty good recollection of the conversations that you had across platforms. Of course, they immediately released a bunch of tokens connected to those agents in the project, and they diluted all of the value that they could have had long term in their products. They very quickly diluted the trust and the value by releasing so many tokens so quickly. Um, so yeah, it's interesting when a new project pops up. Um, the scramble to try to create relevancy in the amount of noise that we're experiencing at the moment is really really difficult. But you can bypass a lot of the legacy system by just open sourcing and providing to a larger user base the back end of your code. So sorry, I got a little bit off track on the what's the low lift is Gemini and Gemini project products that very easily allow companies to plug into an agential framework. And the heavy lifts are understanding, if you can create some sort of novel version of any of these systems and releasing them to the general public, sometimes you'll go viral and you might be a little bit ahead of the crowd. And I don't know how many of those moments are still ahead of us. I think, just last week we witnessed a major exploit using Claude. Did you hear about this one?
I had it. No.
There was a hacker who prompted, yeah, there was a hacker that prompted Claude to extort several companies just through vibe coding um, uh, which the questions were which companies could potentially have user data that's easily accessible, which companies would be able to acquire that data fairly easily. And then he started going through a list of these companies, and within like a very small amount of time, he had collected quite a bit of data on these companies, and he actually provided to them, uh, I'm blanking on the word that's used in the hacker circles, where you just say, I've got this information. If you don't want me to release it, here, this is the bounty. And it was a big it was a big controversy with Anthropic. I think Anthropic's reputation has been relatively sterling until that, but these little edge cases are popping up constantly, and how to trick the models to do things that they shouldn't do. And we could try to put on guardrails all we want, but it just takes one user with bad incentives to try to exploit little fringe cases in your system.
It's always been the case throughout society, whether it's computer, AI, politics, governments, social structures, whatever.
Economics, yeah,
There's always a
governments,
bad actor, right?
yeah,
Um, now, interesting. So,
yep.
okay, and with that, so for your business, what are you doing to increase your clientele? Like, what are you guys doing to keep the pipeline?
So currently, I'm trying to focus as locally as possible. Over the past 4 to 5 years, I worked with so many teams that were, cross borders, on different time zones. It just became so much to manage in relation to coordinating teams. I was mostly doing operations and trying to get everybody in the same room for, weekly all hands, and trying to get everybody consistently in a rhythm just became so much to manage, that I decided to just, take a small break. I'm still, utilizing a majority of my crypto understanding and fintech understanding to provide enough passive income that I could kind of, for a moment, tone down and just say, like, where do I want to affect some change? And locally in Los Angeles, I feel that there are, hundreds of businesses that first aren't using AI, second could utilize it to increase their reach, increase their lead generation, increase profitability where they might have bottlenecks. And so I've been just going almost door to door, cold calling businesses that look interesting in Los Angeles, and just asking, how are you currently utilizing AI? Would you like to do 30 minutes to an hour on how you could better utilize it? And then, I've only acquired a small amount of clients that way. There's a gallery over here on the west side that primarily focuses on local artists, and we've been working together over the past 3 months to digitize their gallery and utilize AI for their outreach, and that's been really fulfilling. But in general, it's hard to approach local companies with, with either aging operators or, small budgets, and say, like, hey, I'm a AI consultant, you should bring me in. Most of the time,
Mhm.
these assessments just lead to, you're already utilizing Google Workforce. Just have a few questions. Just let's sit down and talk about how you can ask better questions to Gemini, and just kind of follow up over the next couple months and understand if there's opportunities to uh, just make your business more efficient. Um, the other clients that I acquire are mostly word of mouth. There are a lot of great networking groups here in Los Angeles, so usually I'll acquire clients just through networking in those circles. Another client that I've been working with is a lending platform, and I still do quite a bit of blockchain related consulting, and in 2026 we're planning for a major boom in stablecoin proliferation, and providing stablecoin rails to their lending platform is a big focus of mine over the next 3 months. So I'll probably tune down those clients who, we have the assessment that they go, okay, this is all like super overwhelming and really interesting, but I don't know how to implement it, and it would require a lot of time on my hand to jump in and try to show them. Um, I'll probably be tuning down approach and just tuning up my three major clients and just trying to focus on their current issues. But I still really enjoy having conversations with local businesses about trying to just get them more up to date or aware of the ways that the current tools can increase their productivity.
Awesome. And if someone's listening right now trying to scale, what's one piece of advice you wish you had earlier on in your career?
Failure is always leading to the things that you need to learn most. When you run into major failures, just make sure you understand what got you there and how you can learn from it. I think a lot of people, when learning how to get hit in the face and get back up and continue, that took quite a while. I went through three career lifespans in media, in wine, and pretty much crypto and AI, where I had major moments of looking either at the product or the lifestyle and saying like, is this me? Is this where I want to go? And to, get to a point where you do have a little bit of financial freedom. Actually, that's probably the thing that I was lucky enough to learn early on is the power of compound interest, just saving. I started a DCA into Bitcoin and Ethereum relatively early, and we go through cycles where everybody's talking about Bitcoin because it's over 100K, and some people might dip their toe, but when it drops down 20-30%, everybody runs screaming for the hills. The
It's when to
reality is
buy.
if you can set up, yeah, exactly. If you can set up an on-ramp, either through Coinbase, Kraken, any of there are like 100 new on-ramps appearing over this last year. They all have TCA systems, and what you'll learn is that a very, very small percent of a savings or investing portfolio going into crypto over the long run usually pays off. That we were talking about, you just set it and forget it, and you come back in 3 to 5 years and you're going, oh, that was the best performing asset that I've ever got into. So understanding that compound interest, what you know just taking the time to think about your own money, making sure that you're looking at institutions that are holding your assets and asking, is this something that might take me like a small amount of time to learn that I could stop paying this custodian or this person to do it for me? Those are the things that early on I was lucky enough to learn and have really provided enough freedom for me to move around and make wider choices. Yeah, and then running into plans that didn't work out and knowing when to cut bait. Um, the wine industry is still very much a big part of like how I think about things. I think the wine industry is a decentralized system that's the oldest luxury product in the world, and it'll always be a part of my way of looking at the world. But right now, we're just going through a phase where there are so few new wine consumers. The abstinence movement around younger drinkers is killing it. There's an explosion of competition. We've been in this borderline recession for years now, where luxury goods are usually the first thing that people cut. And then for small producers, that's the other big part of it. I was looking at, the next 10 years of work as a small producer in the wine industry, and I just couldn't rationalize just grinding away 20, $20, $30 bottles at a time, um, and just barely making any headway. So yeah, that's when I I decided to just say like, okay, wine, you'll always be there. But right now, it seems like a good idea to get into crypto and back into technology because that's always going to have a place in society.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time. Where can people find out more about you and about what you're doing?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, direct Ted, DIRECTTED. You can reach out to me on my LinkedIn, Teddy Thoren. And yeah, I'm in Los Angeles and just looking for interesting businesses to work with, and always rooting for the little guy, and always rooting for more power to in the hands of the creators.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
So yeah, I appreciate your time, Jason, and hope you catch up soon.